The question on everyone's mind is, are the Browns actually going to the Super Bowl, or will that just continue to be a euphemism for going to poop? Grossi Posse Packer Nation! Welcome to the episode of Packcast, the podcast where we don't do a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I am your host, Tom Grossi, and today we head on over to the other conference, which, listen, as an NFC guy, I have just always found the AFC to just be so damn boring. Like, I just don't care what happens over there, but it's always interesting, at least somewhat, to talk about the Browns. Whether it's that they're imploding or winning their first game and everyone gets Bud Light, or they sign Odell Beckham Jr. So this should be fun. So when talking about the AFC North, if you're brand new to how we've been doing predictions for the past week, is that we take a look at each team, try to predict their record based on the most challenging games that they're going to face throughout the year, where they're most likely going to accrue some losses, and then we try to figure out their prediction, and then we'll rank them. So in 2018 with the AFC North, you had the Ravens finishing on top of the division at 10-6, with the Steelers actually failing to make the playoffs for the first time in a while, going 9-6-1, and then you also had the Browns going 7-8-1, and then you had the Bengals going 6-10. And so when taking a look at this division this year, the talk of the town, of course, is the Browns. Obviously, the Ravens came out of nowhere with Lamar Jackson last year, who was lighting up the league, and then he didn't in the playoffs. And now the Bengals, they finally have a new head coach because they decided, hey, it's like we have our own Mike McCarthy, let's get rid of him. And then you have the Steelers losing Antonio Brown, losing Le'Veon Bell. Ben Roethlisberger is getting older. So there are concerns, but they have Juju Smith-Schuster, who might be like the greatest person, I think, to play football in quite some time. He just seems so nice. I saw a guy get a Steelers logo tattooed on his head, and he was like, oh, like I'll get your autograph signed on it too. I'll get that tattooed on, and he got season tickets. I mean, like, that's extreme, but hey, he's a nice guy. So let's break down where we think people are going, or teams are going to finish. So coming in at number 4, I think the Bengals are going to finish last in the AFC North. They have a brand new head coach, which, like the Packers, that usually doesn't spell immediate success. They still are kind of struggling a bit on offense. AJ Green injured during practice, never a good thing. And so taking a look at where I feel the games are going to give them the most trouble are the Seahawks. They'll probably maybe split with the Steelers, maybe split with the Ravens, the Rams. Actually, you know what? Steelers will probably sweep them. We'll probably do that. The Browns might take one from them, and the Patriots. And so if they are able to win all their other games, they're still looking at 9-7, and that's if the Ravens don't sweep them or the Browns don't sweep them. And so because of that, because of all the nuance that is facing Cincinnati, and I feel like they're just not really going in a direction that one would deem optimistic, I think that they're going to remain in the basement here, especially because the Browns are getting better, and even if the Steelers are kind of regressing, they're probably still going to finish at least 3rd place. But moving on to the number 3 team, and this is where people might get a little offended by this, but I feel like the Ravens are going to finish at the number 3 spot here. And that's because they have a pretty difficult schedule after winning the division. I feel like the Chiefs are absolutely going to give them problems. I feel like the Browns can steal one from them. The Steelers will probably split with them, as they usually do. The Seahawks, the Patriots, and the Rams. And so with that, they're finishing at 10-6. And again, that's if the Steelers don't sweep them. That's if the Browns don't sweep them, or the Bengals don't steal one from them. And now they obviously have Ingram. They have Lamar Jackson coming into their 2nd year. Their defense is still pretty good, even though they lost C.J. Mosley. And so they have some pieces there that they can do some work with. But the reason why I think I'm grading them this low is because there is more competition. And, before you freak out on me, I don't see the Steelers finishing too much better than them, and I can see the Steelers and Ravens potentially flip-flopping, or maybe even the Browns with that. And so I can see them finishing around 10-6, and that's if everything goes well. So they might still wind up sneaking into the playoffs. And then the number 2 team, which I feel like a lot of people are going to be predicting the Browns are going to win the division, but I see the Browns going 11-5. And one of the reasons why I think they're going to be doing that well is not just because of the talent that they've accrued, but because they have a pretty easy schedule. But here's where I see them facing some issues. The Rams, the Ravens, the Seahawks, the Patriots, and the Steelers. So obviously I think they'll split within the division. They should be able to sweep the Bengals, one would hope. But they have a really talented team, and while a lot of people are focusing on their offense with Baker Mayfield and OBJ and Landry, I think the biggest thing is their defense. Myles Garrett is scary. Denzel Ward, it could be amazing after he was injured last year. That defense can be one of the best defenses in that conference. And so I think the Browns are going to do well. I feel like they'll have trouble with these games, but who knows? They might be able to sweep either one of those teams or potentially pick off a win against the Seahawks. But I see them finishing around 11-5. Obviously, they could drop another game or two, but I feel like they're definitely going to have a winning record this year unless bringing these all these players together is going to result in catastrophe. Someone like the Dream Team from years ago with the Philadelphia Eagles, where they're like, we're going to the Super Bowl because we have a Dream Team, and that fell apart. But I think the way that the Browns have slowly built their team through really early draft picks has really benefited them. You were able to see the kind of progression they were making last year, and so now I think they're going to continue on that, and they'll get a winning record, potentially even making it into the playoffs this year. And then number 1, which again, I know that people are going to be like the Steelers, but they lost all of that talent. I still think the Steelers are in pretty good shape, and one of the reasons why is because of the lack of competition within their schedule. So where I see them losing games is I see the Patriots, the Ravens, they'll split, the Chargers, the Rams, and the Browns, they could potentially split. And so that's only 5 games with an 11-5 record as well. So again, I feel like the top 3, the Steelers, the Browns, and Ravens, they could flip-flop. And so I feel the Steelers, I'm going to give them the slight edge just because they do have Ben. They still have Juju Smith-Schuster. They still have Connor. The defense is still pretty good. The Browns could potentially take it, or the Ravens could jump up to that spot. But this is a division where you could see, I would be shocked if 2 teams don't make the playoffs, but you could potentially have 3, especially with teams or the divisions like the AFC East, which is not producing more than 1 playoff team, the Patriots. I think there's going to be room here where you're going to see multiple teams go from the AFC North, potentially even 3, depending on how the rest of the conference is. But I feel like the Steelers still can hold on to this division. But we'll see what happens this year. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think the Browns are just going to be able to sweep the competition and go right to the top? Do you think the Ravens are going to be able to hold on to that title? Or do you think, who knows, maybe the Bengals will come from the basement? But let me know what you think. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all the social media you see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, Spotify, and all that great stuff. A big shout out and thank you to all my patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. Check that out. And thank you so much for watching. We'll continue this week with the AFC. We'll be going down to the AFC South tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.